We are the original Saturday Menudo Club, except no substitutes. Ya no más.
Hi, I am Elsa. You are watching the Saturday Menudo Club ZoomCast with host Carmen Cavazos and co-host Andy Valadez. Please like, share, follow, and visit SaturdayMenudoClub.com. Ya no más. Stay hungry, my friends.
All right, welcome to the Saturday Menudo Club ZoomCast. We created this ZoomCast to be able to talk more regularly about the issues, and I'm Andy Valadez, your co-host, here with your host and CEO, Carmen Cavazos. Hey, Carmen, how you doing today?
Oh, doing great, Andy. I am excited and looking forward to our conversation. I think people are really going to get to know you after today.
All right, I try to be behind the scenes, so here I am. They keep pulling me back in. No, but I like yes, because you have an opportunity to get to know more about the people and other people, because we do plan to have other guests. We interviewed you to begin this series, and we've had other guests on. So we'll be archiving these on our playlist on YouTube, which you can find at SaturdayMenudoClub.com. But we are going to take time, I guess, to interview me. What?
Yeah, and I think you're an extremely interesting you're a well-read individual. So I want to start off with just getting some basic, just letting our guests and our viewers know, who is Andy Valadez? What is the background? What is your education? Because I know you got some degrees with you, but tell us a little bit about you. Who is Mr. Andy Valadez?
And what do you do? He was like, what do you do? I was like, what everybody wants to know. So, I grew up in Bryan College Station, right across the street from Texas A&M University. My grandmother had 12 kids and adopted 4. And when I grew up with across the street from the campus, we grew up with that Aggie spirit. And interestingly, I had 3 uncles that went to A&M, but never got to finish, either family or military. Hardworking, family, especially with that many kids, right? You had a lot of mouths to feed. So my grandmother was a very wise lady. She used to lay hands on me and pray on me, and she even hit me with the vada occasionally if I got out of line, right? So
yeah, we all get that every now and then.
Yeah, I always had a desire to go to A&M. Anyway, I wound up growing up in Austin in '77. My mom and dad, moved to Austin and grew up in the Austin environment. And anyway, never really had plans to go to college, even though I wanted to go to A&M back then, just didn't see that was my interest, and kind of surprised my parents, because around my 11th grade, I started kicking it in gear, started studying hard, and went from a C student to an A and B student, and got my first job at Whataburger when I was 15. And my dad was a hardworking guy, so he taught me responsibility, and found a way for me to get my first car that I bought for $100. It was a Plymouth Fury 1966, kind of a hoot deep we would call today. But you know what? It sure beat the heck out of walking. And interestingly, I drove that car for about 6 months, and he just wanted to see if I was going to take care of it. Mm-hmm. And while I was at work one day at Whataburger, he pulls up in a Berlinetta Camaro with T-tops, electric windows, and a Delco stereo. I was dating my wife then. We were young dating, but she thought I was going to leave her because I had this nice car, because we started walking on our dates, went to driving on our dates, and now we had a nice sports car to drive. So interestingly, I was 3 years older than her. Around 1983, I was 18 at the time. We had the Marine barracks bombing. You remember 241 Marines were killed in Lebanon, and that's a hot spot still today in the Middle East. And we've gone on to have the war on terror, et cetera. But ultimately, a buddy of mine was killed there at 19. I had an opportunity to visit him in Arlington here this year at his gravesite 42 years later. But it made an impact on me much. Right now, as we're doing this interview, we're talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination. These young people that they get killed at an early stage in life. You never forget them. But Tim McMahon was 19 at the time, and it was a wake up call for my generation, just like 9/11 was for many in this generation, and just like maybe Vietnam was for the Vietnam generation. So I told my wife then, I said, you know what, the world is a dangerous place, and we're sitting ducks. So I was going to college at the time and decided, you know what, I got to do something with my life, and typically, people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to know if they have what it takes, especially a man or a guy, wants to know like, hey, do I have what it takes? And so I really wanted to test my mettle. I wound up joining the Marine Corps in '88. And interestingly, I told my dad I joined the Marines so I wouldn't have to take orders from him. And we both laughed at that because he was a man's man, a hardworking guy, but he really respected the fact that, I went to A&M. And interestingly, about that time, there was a movie called Top Gun. You remember um, the other one was
Tom Cruise.
yeah, Tom Cruise. That was a recruitment. And then you had an officer and a gentleman. So that movie had an impact on me. And I said, you know what? I want to join the military and become an officer and a gentleman. I want to fly Cobras. Right? I was the right height back then, 5'6". 2020 vision. I can't fit in the cockpit now, but it was a pretty aggressive program that the Marine Corps basically sold. They said, look, Andy, you can graduate from college. We'll send you to officers candidate school. You can go to flight school. I mean, it sounded like everything I wanted to hear, but they don't tell you, and you're a Marine as well. So, they don't tell you everything about
Yeah.
how these programs are. But I did get accepted on the second try. 66 of us got selected out of 350 that applied nationwide, I guess, and around the world. But 6 of us got cut. This was just before Desert Storm and Desert Shield timeframe. And
Mm-hmm.
by then, I'd been accepted to A&M, the college of my dreams. And so I'm the first to graduate from A&M. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, because they, was cut from the program, but I still was accepted to A&M. I had a year and a half left because I went to Tulane at night while I was in New Orleans. That's where my duty station was. And people said, what did you do in the Marine Corps? I said, well, I got Marines paid. I was the unit diary clerk. I got in the system, and I was very popular because if you're a Marine traveling, from different duty stations, there's a time lag before you get paid. So it's very critical that we get you in the system and get that back pay. So if you got a family and kids and stuff like that, it's really important. Or if you got money
Yes.
due because of travel and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of detailed work, which I was really good at, I guess. And I put myself through college at night. So I'd go to Tulane in the evening. My wife was going to UNO. So we were always, sacrificing for that someday, that future that we were working hard for. So when I went to A&M, I had a year and a half. I was really mission focused because people asked me like, well, did you join the Corps Cadets? I said, well, coming out of active duty Marine, I said, to me, it was kind of like the Boy Scouts back then. I said, I don't think I wanted to mess with these young kids bossing me around. I felt like I was a sergeant at the time as I
Uh-huh.
got out meritoriously as a corporal with the recommendation for meritorious sergeant. But graduated from A&M, excelled because of the leadership that the military teaches you, discipline, just the, taking care of business, right? Going the extra mile,
Absolutely.
that kind of thing. So still keep in touch with my marketing professor today. He's now like 81 years old. He's still at A&M, and he takes students all over to Europe for long distance trips and whatnot. But I went to work in corporate America right after graduating from A&M. I went to work for dealer department stores, and then I did about 18 months there and moved over to Toshiba International, the industrial division, and I was a buyer for 5 years. So I bought like diodes and heat sinks and wire, those components. We didn't make computers; we made switchgear for industry, and it was a nice job, job. But I was chomping at the bit to start my own company. So in 1999, I did a prayer. You got to be careful what you pray for. You ever heard
Yeah.
that before? I said, Lord, either shut a door or open a door here at Toshiba. Right. Well, the next day I got laid off.
Wow.
Now I wasn't afraid though. I was really kind
He
of
answered that prayer pretty quickly, didn't he?
You ever seen that movie, Jerry Maguire? That he's I'm free falling. I was coming home. We had a brand new house, and I was like, oh shoot, my wife's gonna she's gonna freak out because what are we gonna do? But I told her, I said, look, baby, I want to start my company. I said, I don't know what I want to do, but back then the internet was kind of new. Like a buddy of mine, Slade Del Liberto, he was a Marine that worked at Toshiba. So he wound up helping me with a website for a product that I created. I raised like $10,000 to get it started. We were doing stuff online that nobody was doing, like video, shopping carts. And
Mhm.
so I made these little, back then, making homemade beer was kind of a trend. This was back in the 90s, 99
Mhm.
timeframe. And so I made these little K-bar fighting knives, beer tap handles, and my customers were e-clubs, I guess, across the United States. People would buy them. I'd have a little dog tag on it with the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor or the Navy SEAL on there. And it was a
Okay.
cool product, cool idea. Then I had visions to do, like, there's companies now that are doing this, like sergeantgrit.com. If you go to him, he's got all this different, military, like bottle openers like with 50 cal, and you got ashtrays. That was stuff that I wanted to do back in 1999.
So the
But
idea is still going strong to this day,
oh
Andy.
yes, I'm an originator creator. I mean, I start this stuff and other people go off and make money with it, right? So that was my holy curiosity part. But I wanted in 6 months I wasn't making any sales, so I wound up getting a call from a family member. It's like, Andy's, I know you're building your business, and by then I named my company Marketing Dynamics. I said that was a cool name. The Lord gave me that name, and it's never been stolen or taken from me, and I've been able to use it for 25 years. Marketing Dynamics, like that's where we get the dynamics is where we get the word dunamis from the Bible. It means a power without source. Is where we get the dynamite, dynamo. It means just this energy or whatever. Marketing dynamics.
Yes.
The market's always changing. I said, that's pretty cool name. So this guy called me and he says, hey, I know you're busy. He says, just bring your laptop to my office and answer the phone because I'm just super swamped and I don't want to miss all these customers. I said, okay. So I started noticing some things that we could improve, because he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I said, look, on Mondays and Fridays, you're no longer taking sales calls. We're going to take sales calls on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I said, on Monday, you're getting your crews out and you're going to start working on your business. And then by Friday, you're wrapping up the week and, you're going to, get your invoices out and make money. So all of a sudden we're making more money because we're getting more organized. And then I started taking on like, okay, well, he wants me to do some marketing. So I started buying radio for him and TV and doing brochures and advertising. And so it was really kind of for the first 5 years. He wasn't my only client because I was also allowed to have other clients. So I had a lot of flexibility. It was kind of cool one day,
Okay.
2004, when he bought me a brand new truck, extended cab,
Wow.
Silverado. And it never let me pay for anything. We had gas on property. So I got free gas. I got a laptop. We'd go on cruises. I mean, he really treated me great, So he was probably one of the best clients I ever had. He's like, he couldn't wait to pay me in essence because I was making him a lot of money. I took him from 300,000 a year to 5 million a year. And he's made over 100 million since. And
Wow, that's impressive.
yeah, we wound up landing the Home Depot account, but I felt like there was more to life, And so at some point, I kind of had to start over. I said, you know what, I got to move on. There was this little incident that I dealt with, and I said, you know what, I'm probably unemployable by this stage. I said, I'd rather do things for myself, things that I like to do. But I have consulted with corporations and institutions, et cetera. But I don't want to do the 8 to 5. I want
Yeah.
to I get up at 2:30 most mornings. People are like, what? I said, yes, I can't wait to get up. I got stuff to do. Actually changing my schedule. I normally go to bed at 7 or 8. I said, you know what?
Yes.
I'm gonna go to bed at 10. I said, if President Donald Trump can work 4 hours, I mean, go take a sleep for 4 hours and work the rest. I said, I can do it, so I can pick up more productivity.
So
So
we're
anyway,
going to circle back with you on that one in a couple of months.
oh, thank you. Yeah, so I worked. Yeah, thank you. But I worked on the campaign in 2016. A lot of people don't know that. So I was one of the originator creators then because I knew that we needed a strong president, and especially what we're dealing with now. We're seeing what's going on. So many positive changes, and we get to talk about the Saturday Menudo Club a lot. But I was the first Latinos for Trump at the campaign, first Veterans for Trump. Myself, Hope Gutierrez, you've met her, Carol
Yes.
Delgado, Valente Gonzalez, and so the campaign originated that concept and then it became viral. Other people stepped in. I think Bianca's a good friend, and they took it to the next level. It's like, hey, that was our role, was to at least give permission for people to vote for Trump. I lost a lot of friends and family, but that was okay because I gained so much more. And now we kind of look like the bright ones, right? We were the ones that said, hey, there need to be some changes, and because of the changes, whether people like it or not, it's actually a good thing for our country, right? We're seeing. So anyway, I just knew that there was more to life. And so I made a promise to the Lord back in 1999. I read a book called Marketing of Evil by Dr. Capellian. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to use my God-given talent for good, though it cost me everything. And so I made a promise. And a lot of times, I got to see a lot of things that other people didn't get to see because they were busy not, paying attention to what was going on in our country. We
Hmm.
were involved in instituting constitutional carry in Texas. It took us about 12 years to finally get to where you don't need a license to carry a handgun or a rifle, which was already in Texas. You don't need a license to carry a rifle. Like, why do you need a license to carry a handgun? It's
Yeah.
just the question. We dealt with the drag queen story hour, the voter fraud, the COVID lockdown, the Arctic freeze, the Harvey flood. There's just a lot of things that I got to jump in. Maybe I wasn't the person in the spotlight, which was okay, but I was either supporting the person in the spotlight, like Machine Gun Preacher, got to meet him on the journey. Stephen Williford, he's a legend in Texas. He was the hero at First Baptist Church. I don't know if you remember the church that got shot up 8 years ago,
Yes.
2017. So he was the guy that showed up to deal with the bad guy. Got to meet Mark Geist of 13 Hours, Marine Hero. This is a guy that basically chose Benghazi. He saw that as a hot spot, and he's wired for that. So he, of course, a movie was made about it.
Mhm.
But the Lord brought me in front of these legends, like people that are doing remarkable things, incredible things that movies are made about.
Yeah.
Bub Seven, the fastest motorcycle in the world, Dennis Manning. He gave me permission to use his photography, for example, on my marketing. Land speed record holder at 364 miles an hour. It's a plane on the ground at that point.
Wow.
So as I look at in the marketplace, I said, people want to become legendary. I mean, they have an inner legend that's trying to get out. They want to make a difference. They have, something bigger than themselves that they want to do, and they want to know, do I have what it takes? So anyway, that's kind of my background. Married, wife and I have been together 44 years. We met at Whataburger April 30th, 1981. I was the cashier that day when love came walking in. I was taking an order then. I've been taking orders ever since. We have two adult young females. They are transgender stuff out the window. They are female. You got to be specific today, and they love their womanhood. My eldest daughter lives in Seattle. She's in the insurance and annuities business, and then my youngest daughter just graduated from A&M, so she's second generation Aggie. She's a forensic scientist, and this H-1B announcement that Bianca made may affect her because the unfair advantage that a lot of the foreign countries were getting when it came to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So
Uh-huh.
she's, I say she's a living Velma from Scooby Doo. She looks just like her with the big glasses, straight hair. She's super brilliant. But anyway, that's my
Beautiful
background.
daughter.
Took up a lot of time, but how much time we have left?
Let's see. I think we're good. We're good. I love the fact that you are so diverse in experiences. So what I've heard from the past, and as our viewers are hearing now, you're a very dedicated, hardworking gentleman from being very responsible at a young age, and showing your family that dedication. Going off into the Marine Corps, coming back, getting your degrees, getting these business ideas, which if we pay attention to your background, I see something that you mention very often: on mission. And that's something that your mission, it seems to, as we're hearing you speak, there are so many obstacles that you've overcome, so many obstacles that you've actually conquered, right? You have several degrees, you've started your own business, you triumphant over adversities at times. When you said, you went from this very prosperous business deal that you had with the client to saying to your wife, I think I want to start my own business at this point. And that's been several years now where you've proven to be successful in your endeavors. Tell us how the viewer can get to know what was the creativity behind the Saturday Menudo Club? Because as we know, this idea was birthed from your creativity and thinking that you wanted this to become something bigger and involve so many people now. Tell us, how did that start? Where did it start from?
Yeah, so again, I've never really done politics before. And so working with the Trump campaign, observing what the left was saying about the Latino community. Remember they called us tacos?
Yes.
Remember that? I'm like, what's wrong with tacos? I like
Those
tacos.
are good. Those are tacos are good,
Yeah,
but
they were making fun of President Trump having a taco salad. I say, you know what? So anyway, I remember years ago there was a gentleman, Mr. Cabrillo. He was a Democrat, but he was trying to bring the people together. Really, that is a Latino Hispanic culture. We like community, right? And he got really ill. He's probably still alive. In fact, if he is, I think I looked for his phone number the other day. But he had respect for me, and he'd always call me on different things that he needed help. Like Freddie Fender. Did you know Freddie Fender was a Marine?
oh, I did not know that. And we grew up listening to Freddie Fender. I never knew he was a Marine.
Yeah, he actually recorded here in Houston at Sugar Hill Studios. I found out later, but again, I got a variety of different uh, fingerprints and different things. But anyway, he had called me a while back on a documentary that he was working to promote, and I helped out there. But they used to have a Menudo Club, and it's been non-existent for the last 15 years, 20 years. And so I remember eating menudo. I never really ate it regularly. My mom would make it. It would smell up the whole house, but it tastes good, right? And so,
Yes.
you know what? I maybe eat it once every 2 years or so. And so I decided to reach out to Eduardo. You and I know Eduardo. I said, hey, you know what? You probably know the best places for menudo. I said, let's go have menudo somewhere. And so we found this place, off the wall place, the kind you would look for in a restaurant. They got good. Well, guess what? They had none. So I kind of joked. I said, hey, we got to start the Menudo Club. And so it wanted just becoming just a simple idea. A lot of times, just had Chick-fil-A tonight. Simple idea: a breaded piece of chicken, two buns, and and a pickle. And
Yeah.
so, interestingly, I got an interview with Esther and Kathy, the founder. He was 8. He's been dead now, like 5, 8 years now. But I got a radio interview with him. And interestingly, in the media, you can get past all the gatekeepers. But what a man! I had to get him on this radio show so he could share his story about how this franchise got started, and they're still one of the most successful franchises in the world, and they're
Yeah.
still closed on Sunday. Amazing. So anyway, Saturday Menudo Club. I said nothing new under the sun. You look at Harley Davidson. They started the motorcycle club. Only 30 people showed up, but it was the 30 of the right people that showed up, because it grew to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And of course, Harley Davidson is a community. I heard a guy talk about, he rode a Yamaha. That's how he called it, Yamaha, from France. And he said, man, he got stranded one day and nobody helped him. He said, but he noticed that when he had a Harley Davidson, like, he got stranded, like people would pull over. So the Saturday Menudo Club was just an idea, and it wasn't necessarily, right now it's a lot different from what we started with. Different people have come and gone, but I always wanted to have at least a video camera, because I've been to a lot of networking events, been part of BNI and Network in Action, all the Houston Networking News, all these different networking groups, which are great. I said, but those the time chambers of commerce, you get there, you shake hands, you collect business cards. I got a lot of business cards from people, but then you never hear from them again. So I wanted to memorialize our meetings, like have it on camera, make the people part of the media, part of the star, right? Because everybody's got a
Absolutely.
story to tell. In fact, we've had events, and then you look around at the group, we may have 50 to 75 people there, but if you count their influence of people they know, there's an old saying that your network is your network. Your network is
Mhm.
your net worth. I'm sorry. Well, it's their network as well as their net worth. So it's the people's people. And so the caliber of people that show up, these are leaders, whether they're just a working dad, and there's nothing wrong with that. My dad was a working dad, but he was an influencer. He worked in the grocery business. So he wound up bringing food because he get discounted food and he'd take it out to the family. So he was
Yes.
kind of a celebrated character, because you know what? He had food for everybody. That helped, put food on the table for others, right? And so whether you're, working a full-time job, or you're a teacher, or you're a volunteer, or you're working in politics, a lot of people that come to our meetings, they're taking away time from their family to be a part of the conversation. So it's grown. We basically called it a media experience for leaders, the Saturday Menudo Club, Yano Mas. That's not trademarkable. It's colloquial. Our grandmothers told us that. Yano Mas, grandfather, Yano Mas.
Yes.
That's it. If y'all don't behave, you're going to your room, you're getting the chocolate, or you're getting the vada. Which one do you want?
Very true. And that saying um, has really, when it was incorporated into the Saturday Menudo Club, it has reached and touched in so many different levels. Ya no mas, to the corruption that a lot of our Hispanic communities have endured throughout the years of being neglected, not only economical, but on a platform to have their voices heard. So I think that Ya no mas statement has amplified 1,000 times within our club. Um, and I know you originally, when you brought the Saturday Menudo Club together, the idea is just like when you make menudo, you get different values, different concerns, different different people criticize certain things within local government, state government, national government. So all of that, just like spices, when you put into the menudo, makes it more flavorful. So what have you noticed from our club Is it more geared towards just community? Does it involve politicians? Or is it just a mixture of everyday citizens coming in to our club?
Yeah, so as we put down our vision statement, like, okay, what does the future look like? So I did see an opportunity to like celebrate entrepreneurship, identify issues like homelessness. I think Vicky Cruz spoke into that, and she's been a good friend and ally. I call her my twin, and she's active. Education, the youth, the church. We dealt with all kinds of different issues from Planned Parenthood to crime, to presidential runs, endorsing candidates, and I didn't realize how much power and recognition. I mean, the waves we were making. I mean, who knew? We did press and media. We did little gatherings, networking. We did fundraising. We have our little raffles. We
Yes.
do cultural events. So there's a lot that we have on this. I mean, let's just like look at what Charlie Kirk did. I mean, we can't compare to what he's done, but really, the sky's the limit when you bring in the right people. The old saying that great minds think alike. They really don't. They think differently. And so an engineer thinks like an engineer, a politician thinks like a politician, a judge thinks like a judge, a marketer thinks like a marketer. But when you bring the bright minds together, they can become brilliant. And so we're very intentional. Like, you're very intentional about recognizing that, the people that came, they're the reason, they're the focus. I mean, we just had a powerful meeting on Saturday, and just coming off this assassination with Kirk, and then the funeral this Sunday. I watched it, from 12 to 6 yesterday. It was very powerful. So there's
Yes.
just in the air, and the Latino voice is a very, very powerful voice. And it's not racism. I mean, it's not just Hispanics. I mean, we have blacks, we have whites, we have ethnicities, and it's really the DNA is the same. The ethnicities
Absolutely.
are the different. It's the culture that people bring, and it's an open door. I mean, we make it very inviting and friendly, and yes, we'll get emotional about some things that we're concerned about. Like, we're tired of the BS, and ya no mas. I mean, I'd love to hear President Trump say that one day. We want that thing to go viral, but we also nowadays we want to say "sígame." Like, we're not going to let you beat up on us. We're not going to let you kill us. On the left.
Yes.
You guys need to grow up and quit treating people so badly, and quit threatening them, right? Because we're
Yes.
not going to let it happen. We're done. We're done with that.
Yeah, no mas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a couple of people, Machine Gun Preacher that came in, and a couple of other pretty high profile candidates and activists that have visited our club. If somebody was interested who's viewing this podcast now and they want to go back and they want to hear the message of that individual or the activist, where can somebody find links to previous episodes?
Yeah, so we're exploring with all kinds of different social media platforms, from Twitter to TikTok to YouTube, but the main hub is SaturdayMenudoClub.com, right? Even this ZoomCast, we started a playlist for the ZoomCast, as well as we have a playlist for all the past events that we've had, so those can be archived. Plus, we're outputting them in what's called Munch. It's an AI tool that lets you chop up, the videos into little short vignettes, if you will. We've got a WhatsApp app. We're starting a little directory for the folks that want to do not necessarily business, but if you're an institution, a church, or nonprofit, we want to provide a way for our members to connect. And we've got a powerful supporter sponsor in El Tiempo. Plus, we've got the support of other organizations like the Veterans for America First, the Promethean PAC. We've got, Latinos for America First, the America 250 now, the caucus, conservative caucus, and other organizations. So when we bring the spotlight, to these other organizations, it's not really just about the Menudo Club. It's about the community and our influence and reach. I guess you and I are just like conduits. We're just facilitators, right? You're the CEO, you're the chief executive human in this thing, and of course, I'm a marketing guy.
Elsa's kind of giving me a run for my money here. Do you want to talk about Elsa for a little bit?
Yeah, so Elsa is our avatar AI club experience agent. We call her. We have guys wanting to date her. She's not available, guys. She is taken, but we are going to experiment with the Fabio for the ladies, and so you can speak into that. We are looking for guests for the ZoomCast, so we've already got guests lined up to be featured. And again, we wanted to go digital, so that way we're not confined to just once a month or twice a month. I mean, now we got like multiple events, in the city as they pop up, and we're giving access to our members that are active. We're giving them access to the community calendar so they can post their event there. And then, of course, usually one of us tries to attend an event. I think you went to the Jesus Parade downtown. That was an
Correct.
amazing event. How was that?
Oh God, Andy, you could feel the Holy Spirit. There was thousands of worshipers, and it wasn't just preaching. It was people laying hands, people just fellowshipping. It was a sense of fellowship with among everyday citizens from across. It seemed like it was across the world because you had people that were talking about traveling for hours to get there. So it was an experience. I did share a few videos on my personal Facebook account, but I'll be sure to share a couple on the Saturday Menudo Club Facebook page as well. But like you mentioned, there are several events coming up on the calendar that's posted on our website. Do you want to talk about or let us know, if possible, what direction Mr. Andy Valadez would like the Saturday Menudo Club, the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year? How do you envision the Saturday Menudo Club continuing, and in what direction would you like for it to go?
Yeah, so we do have a business plan. If someone is interested in seeing what that is all about, if you're an investor or you're a business backer, I mean, we actually have a lot of support that's wanting to figure out, how they could help us to grow this thing and scale it. So I'd like to export it. The Menudo Club doesn't have to be here in Houston. It can be in any state, in any country. We need to export freedom, right? And of course, I do see us producing a radio show or TV show because we do have cameras at our events. I want to hire professional videographers that can come and capture the conversations and make it into a format, or go into studio where we have guests that we have, expanding our footprint on social media. Right now, for example, there's over 230 social media for business. But how many can you really use? Oh, about 10 or 15 you can, right? And then you look at artificial intelligence. And so what that's doing for us is it's automating and augmenting and multiplying our efforts so that, in essence, with limited resources, we can do a lot. I'd like to see us work with interns, because the thing is, since we're a media platform, there's an opportunity to work with the marketing department at one of the universities, maybe give out scholarships, to teach the next generation how to magnify your voice with marketing and media. And of course, on the business side, most businesses never get to $1 million. It's like 95%. And it's not that they're bad people, they just don't know what they don't know. So you have to decide, yeah, you know what, I want to grow a successful company. Well, that's a decision. Once you make that decision, well, what do I need to know? What do I need to change to get there? That's why I'm getting up at 2:30. That's why I'm
Yeah.
reading. That's why I'm learning, because I'm willing to make those changes. I'm cutting the alcohol, I'm cutting the cable, whatever I got to do to improve mi mente. As my grandmother used to, I mean, she couldn't read. She couldn't even read the Bible. But my grandfather taught himself to read by reading the Bible, and he ran crews when he was in College Station. He actually did some work marshaling the German soldiers. We had German soldiers in College Station. They actually had a prison for him. Yeah, so he did a lot of interesting things in
Wow.
his time. Little guy, he's only 5'3". My grandpa but I remember he used to lay hands on me. He used to pray over me. So anyway, there's a bright future, and that's what the world's not showing us. They're teaching us to, shut up, sit in the classroom. They're not teaching the kids, unfortunately, how to dream. How to have a vision for your life. And unfortunately, as adults, even they're not teaching us the things that we need to learn in college. Even, I mean, they never taught the stuff that I'm learning outside of college in college. I mean, they taught you
Yeah.
the the disciplines, marketing and all that, but they didn't really teach like how do you go do this? How do you go build a Chick-fil-A? How do you build a Saturday Menudo Club? So we're open. I mean, and if you got some ideas and some input, you're welcome to the club. We want to expand. We want to grow fast, not slow. And so that's what we're doing is we're pushing ourselves to grow faster, right? And make this thing so it has more benefit to more people.
Absolutely. So we are, we started off with the bow of menudo, but it sounds like we have a big old pot of menudo going on and we're willing to share. Can you tell us a little bit about where the location is at? How often do we meet? I know you were working on several other locations that we may be expanding into here in the Harris County area and outside of Harris County. So touch a little bit about that. Since you are our marketing director, it would be great to hear where people from outside of maybe the local downtown area can venture out to.
Yeah, so we're open to the location. Does it have a big enough room? A lot of times the restaurant welcomes us because we're bringing customers. So a lot of times they want to charge for those rooms. So we've been very gifted at being cordial and respectful of the locations. Usually we want to have access to a TV or a projector screen because sometimes our speakers have things to present. Having a good sound system. So as we look at scaling, right, we've got a location at Navigation, which is a historic location there, Navigation. That's right, Prime and Edo. It's an underserved community, and so we're just kind of getting the word out there. But we have support of El Tiempo. There's like 14 locations. We have hosts that want to host, so we've got little training programs that we're planning to teach them our recipe. You don't want to serve the menudo too early. It's got to be just right, right. So we want good people. Good people. It's really about the people more than is the food. And some people don't like menudo. They like enchiladas. They like fajitas, whatever. So you really can order whatever you want. But it's really about the conversation, breaking bread. These are people that you get to know and love and trust. As I'm getting to know, like the Promethean Pack. I read the book that Peter gave me at the last event. It's only 20 pager, but it was an awesome read. And so they appreciate that you took the time to really understand and study what their mission is. Right? You talk about mission. Everybody's got a mission. How can we help you with your mission? We can be facilitated. How can we help you connect with somebody that can help you solve a problem? And we had a young man that had been affected by the vaccine mandates in the military. I mean, he's talking to anybody he can, and because he came to our meeting now, he may get some support. And one of our attendees that were there and other people because we're going to output the video, and who knows who's going to be hearing those videos, right? Because now we're expanding our communication. So I think we're about out of time. We got another interview we're going to schedule here today after this one. But
well, thank you, Andy, so much. It's been so nice and interesting, I know, for our viewers to hear who the Andy Valadez really is. So it's been great to hear everything you've had to say. Do you want to wrap it up for us and just invite our guests out to the next meeting?
Yeah, I tell people that that I'm a mystery wrapped in an enigma wrapped around a puzzle with a piece missing. Only I know where the missing piece is. And actually, that's actually Lord Jesus Christ. So we want to give credit to him. He gives us the mind of Christ. He gives us the ideas, the creativity, and also through prayer, we're able to overcome all the obstacles that are in our way. And again, I think what Charlie Kirk was trying to say to the college kids, like, look, they're not teaching you the true liberty, the true freedom that you were born for. And unfortunately, a lot of people are trapped in their stinking thinking that happens because the world is organized against the knowledge of God. So thankfully, through the Saturday Menudo Club, it's just another venue. It's another outlet. It's not really a church, but we celebrate people, their individual talent, their creativity, their commitment, and their dedication. And it's a place, kind of like a Cheers. You remember the TV series Cheers? It's a place where everybody knows your name. So, all right, we're going to wrap out. You've been watching the Saturday Menudo Club ZoomCast. We've gone digital. We're out of control. We can't be controlled, and we're fiercely independent. And ya no mas.
Hoorah!